Hello, Timothy. Your question that you sent to me is how do I build a sustainable brand that provides values and solve pain points? That is a great question. And in order to answer it appropriately, you and I have to come to an understanding of a baseline of what some of that means. And I'm recording a video because I think this is going to be helpful, not just to you, but to some of the other people who might have that same question and want to take those steps, because my background is in branding and marketing. So I understand the concept here. So I'm going to actually break that down into the three different parts, how to build a sustainable brand, how to build something that provides values, or I'm going to say value, and how to solve pain points. So the first thing we need to understand is that there is a little bit of a difference between having a business and creating a brand. Having a business means that you are providing a service, a product, something that is valuable to somebody else. And in turn, that somebody else says, oh, wow, I need that, I want that, and I am willing to exchange something that is of value from me for that thing. For example, my work in branding, most of what I do is brand consulting. So I sit down with people and I talk about your business, I talk about your goals, I talk about your customers with you, and I do a lot of listening so that I can hear how you're framing what's going on, how you are talking about your business, how you're talking about your customers, so that we can get to the deeper psychological depths of what's actually happening and see if there are some things that we can transform or ways that we can reframe the stories that are being told, because that's what a lot of it is, right? And then we look at the data and say, does this support your story, or is there another interpretation to it? That is all business, okay? And when you say building something that provides values, well, what we're actually looking at is those pain points, your customers' pain points, and it has to do with how well you are listening to them. And it's a combination of your skills, your talent, your interests, your passion, your abilities. And on the opposite side, it is a combination of what your customer is suffering with, their emotional trauma because they can't complete a task or finish something that needs to happen to them, for them. Maybe their business needs marketing and you're affiliate marketer and you're like, great, let me help you with the marketing. And they say, okay, I'm willing to pay for that. If you work in a hardware store and you sell a hammer to somebody, the value that you provide by selling them that hammer is that they can hammer a nail, they can hammer boards, they can build things. Maybe they're trying to build a house. So when you sell a hammer, it's not just a hammer, it's the fulfillment from them actually building a house or building what they want to build. That's how you solve pain points. And the way that you get to understanding the pain points is by talking to your audience and seeing what they're doing, listening to what's troubling them. And this is part of where business, some businesses these days, some entrepreneurs, they feel like they have the solution and they don't want to listen to their potential customers, who I'm calling their audience. And you have to listen to the audience to figure out what's actually going on. Now, a lot of that listening these days is provided by data. Who's looking at your website, how long they're staying there, what are the things they're clicking on. The data that's collected on the back end, you can look at and interpret in a way that gives you some of this information. So I actually, that was the last part of that question, like solving pain points. Well, you ask, what are your pain points? What are you suffering with? What's going on? And then you compare that with your skills, your knowledge, your expertise, and you find the overlap, and then you offer them a solution for their pains for an appropriate value, a reasonable value, a fair value. I use those three words, reasonable, appropriate, and fair, because there are different levels of what that means. And perhaps you have a fantastic solution, but your audience doesn't see it as a fair value, then they're not going to pay it. So there is definitely a listening going on there. Now, that's business. Just an exchange of value, figuring out what you can offer, figuring out what your audience needs, your potential customers needs. That's just business. The exchange of value, base level, is what business is. Now, a brand is sort of, like brands started on cattle so that people could recognize whose cattle, whose sheep, whose cows belonged to whom, right? They couldn't be stolen quite as easily. So the idea of a brand is that there is some deeper meaning behind the business, behind the idea there. And these days we tend to look at brands and say, you know, a brand is like the reputation you have. It's the feelings that your customers, your audience has towards what you offer, what you provide. And the reason for that is that there is neuropsychology that goes into the perception of the value, the relationship, and everything that creates business. And I kind of sum this up with the idea of, you know, if you and your friend are sitting and having a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and you sit there and you say, you know, I've got this idea and I want your opinion about it. And you share the idea and your friend says, wow, that is a brilliant idea. Your brand for that idea, for your potential there, that vision is brilliant. Until someone says differently, the brand you have around that idea is brilliant, right? If your friend says that's a lousy idea, then the brand, the feeling, the idea, the concept behind it is kind of lousy. And when we're talking about business, everybody has an opinion, and that opinion is sort of like collectively programmed into what your brand becomes. And part of the foundation of that brand, and this is the part that I actually love talking with people with and figuring out with them, is what are the values that go into that? And values are like the behavioral understanding. Here's what this is about. We are about speed, efficiency, and cost. You know that if somebody's about speed, efficiency, and cost, they're going to work fast, they're going to work cheap, and they're going to maybe make some mistakes, right? It may not be the highest quality, but they get stuff done. If you value getting stuff done quick, cheap, and fast, then that might be the perfect provider for you. If you value quality, if you value creativity, if you value solutions that last more than a month, 6 months, or a year, if you value solutions that actually build and grow over the long term, then you're going to go with a different company. So here's the different terms we're looking at now. We have value, which in a business is what you do, what you provide, and that other people see and you exchange. Like the exchange is your service for money. You have now just exchanged value with someone in business. And then there's values, which are like behavior. What behaviors do I value? What emotions do I value? What are the foundational like influences in other people that I value? I value cooperation. I value creativity. I value long-term thinking. I value tidiness, which is in contrast to this storage, this tiny storage room that I'm actually running this video out of, that looks like a mess behind me. I value tidiness. So I'm in the room that I'm in because this is where I am. But inside, I'm cringing because this image does not uphold to my value of tidiness. And it actually conflicts with my values of clarity and actually kind of challenges my values of confidence. And I rely on my values of cooperation and connection and community and connection with you and communication to think, okay, I'm providing you an answer, so I'm ignoring the background myself. So that's how you build a sustainable brand, providing values and value to solve pain points. You start by asking your customer, your audience, what are you suffering from? Here's my skills, here's my talent, here's what I do. What are you suffering from that I can help you with? And then to build a sustainable brand, you continue that communication, because sustainable brands are brands that build positive emotional experiences through the sales, through the website, through maybe it's just music, maybe you give a little something extra when you ship something out, and you build the relationship with your customer through these positive experiences, and you continually ask, am I still helping you? What else do you need? How else can I expand to serve you better? That's how sustainable brands remain sustainable. And they do that from a foundation of values, things that they believe in, things that they make important, things that they believe as a foundation. It's just who they are, and strong and sturdy and stable. These are the types of values, the types of words we can use to describe a business that creates the brand that represents that. And ultimately, to me, a sustainable brand is a relationship. It's a communication and a relationship with an audience that is very reciprocal. You share information, you receive information, you ask, and then they ask of you. You continually grow by Simon Sinek calls it the infinite game. You grow by playing this game. You don't plan on selling your company. You want to be in it for the long term. And so you build relationships with the audience and with partners that is positive for everybody and can continue moving forward. And in general, that's good for business, that's good for employees, that's good for customers, that's good for the economy, that's good for everybody in general. So building a sustainable brand through communication and strong values creates value for the audience, for your customers, that they want to exchange and keep going year after year after year, and they will tell others about. So Timothy, I hope that's a good answer for you. Thank you so much.